Today in the Fox Local Book Club, we are diving into a highly anticipated new novel that is already generating buzz for doing something different. The Force Becomes Her connects the biological stages of women's lives, from puberty to motherhood to menopause, with the raw, untamed power of a forest fighting back against destruction. So if you're passionate about protecting our planet, love a deep, multi-generational family drama, or you just want to feel empowered by the skin you're in, this next book may be just for you. Joining us now to talk about The Forest Becomes Her, hitting shelves tomorrow, July 14th, is award-winning novelist and environmental advocate Julie Carrick Dalton. Julie, welcome to the Fox Local Book Club.
Thanks so much for having me.
So the book comes from a place of real childhood heartbreak. You watch developers clear-cut the forest behind your childhood home, which you described as kind of feeling like a death. How did that affect you and inspire you to write this story where nature finally gets to fight back?
Yeah, that was an exciting opportunity for me to kind of revisit that part of my life. I lost a forest when I was a child, and I didn't have any agency or power to fight back. So in this story, I was able to revisit that wound and give it over to my characters to play out. And I like to think of this, if I were a superhero, this was my origin story. It was the before and after in my life that made me see the world a little differently, and I got to rewrite the ending. So that was pretty exciting.
So the forest feels almost like a character in this book. How did you approach writing the landscape so that it actually feels alive and integral, of course, to the story?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I live in a house surrounded by forests. I grew up surrounded by forests, and it's a place I feel really comfortable. And it's a place where, we're losing so many forests. And, I also hear people say when I get back to nature or go into nature, and people forget, we're humans, we're animals, like we are nature. So this idea of the line between humanity and nature not existing is something I wanted to explore, kind of blurring that line between, where do we end and where does the forest begin? And is the forest in us, and are we in the forest? And letting that play out was a very fun project for me.
And so you do that using 3 generations of women, a young girl, a woman in her 30s, and an older woman in her 50s. What does each character, her age, perspective, choices, what do they mean to you?
Well, they're actually all 3 a version of me. I got to kind of revisit my past selves when I was writing this book and slip into the skin of my 13-year-old self, my 30-something self, and I'm in my mid-50s right now, so it was pretty easy to occupy Stella's perspective because she's my age. But what I got to do is kind of go back into my former selves and see the world through the way I saw it then, because I don't know about you, but I'm a very different person than I was in my 30s or in my teens, and I had to kind of reorient myself. It was very easy to become a 13-year-old girl again, because I think those memories when you're a teenager, they live so large. Like you remember the wounds and the hurts and the awkwardness and the betrayals and all those things. Really, I think you remember those memories really clearly. And then Stella, I am 55, so that was easy. But Hazel in my 30s was really hard to get back into that mindset because I don't think I knew who I was in my 30s. I was a young mother with 4 kids. I was a journalist, and it took a while to get back into there, but it was a real exploration in giving your past selves a little bit of grace.
Yeah, your 30s are a blur because you're busy raising a family and working. I can relate. A lot of people watching right now might feel like a sense of climate anxiety when they see the news. As a climate communicator and advocate, you speak all over the country. So why do you think fiction like this can move people in a way that maybe just scientific facts alone can't?
Yeah, so I think climate fiction has this opportunity to engage people who might not show up for an hour-long documentary about climate science or don't want to read a nonfiction book about it, but maybe they care or are curious. And it allows them to engage in a story with characters just like them, living dramas, relationships, and traumas, with climate going on in the background. And it's kind of like a Trojan horse. You show up for the story and the characters, but maybe you learn something. I don't ever want to have a didactic I don't want to be didactic in my storytelling. I don't want people to show up thinking I'm going to be wagging a finger or teaching them a lesson. But if some of that information seeps through in the background, I think it's just another platform to communicate the urgency of our climate crisis.
Julie, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The Forest Becomes Her is available tomorrow from St. Martin's Press, but you can get it anywhere books are sold or juliecarrickdalton.com. Thanks again.